Before we start, I want to say this. If you're a beauty professional or service-based business owner who's doing all the right things, but still feels like your income depends on how much you physically show up and how many hours you can squeeze into your schedule, I built my new program for you. Limitless is for the woman who wants to earn more without adding more hours, who needs clearer strategy and the energy and identity shifts that actually move the needle in your business. It is a space where you're not doing this alone and where you can ask me questions anytime. I work super closely with you inside this container alongside a like-minded community of business owners who are serious about their growth as well, but also about life. So if you're ready to grow and want support doing it properly, book a call with me. The link is in the show notes for you. Now let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Beauty Build podcast with me, Zara King. As a coach for beauty pros, it is my mission to help you earn more, work less, and create an unstoppable mindset. This is the show where we explore all of that. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your beauty business, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us on the journey. And for more, get yourself inside my private community, The Beauty Build on Facebook. Hello, my beauties, and welcome back. I really want to just sit and chat with you today and give you a bit of a life update and a business update and be super real and raw and just have this kind of open conversation with you. I feel like today's the first day back. If you're listening, this is going to come out, I think it's like 20 something of April. I'm recording like a week in advance, and I am just back from a mammoth kind of time in life. The kids have just gone back to school from the Easter break, and they went back to school 2 days ago, right? So they went back to school on the Tuesday. Today is the Thursday. Is today Thursday? Yes, today is the Thursday. Kids went back to school on Tuesday, and I booked a spa day for the Tuesday. I was like, right, cool. We've just had a crazy time off. You're going back to school. I'm not going to go straight back to work. I like to ease back in, because like how we just expected to go from being off with our babies to wham bam, thank you ma'am, straight into work. Like, it's insane to me. I need a little bit of me time. And so I booked a spa day with my sister for Tuesday, which was bloody marvellous. It's the only way I feel like now that I can ever end a half term. And then yesterday, Wednesday, which was my first initial day back at work properly, I did have a couple of calls during the half term. I kept up with my one-to-one client support, my private clients, and also inside Limitless we still had a call, but I kind of did nothing like other than that. Do you know what I mean? So I want to talk about it because, you know, people ask me about this type of thing. How do you do that? The podcast wasn't affected. We had a weekly episode going out every week, you know, and there's just been a lot more to it. Anyway, yesterday I got back to work, and it was very much a focus of, you know, clients. I had calls. I was in the client support sort of arena all day, really. But still, I only work 10 till 3, you know, every day. I actually did a little bit of a late night post into the membership and into my spaces yesterday, because there was a new update for people, you know, to tell them something new. So I kind of like gave myself a bit of grace and was just like, let's just ease back into this, but give the clients 5 out of 5 stars, you know, support. So anyway, we got back into that, and today is now like, okay, let's sort out and let's refresh and we're doing the boring stuff today. But actually, well, this isn't boring. I kind of like doing the podcast, of course. It gives me energy, it lights me up. But I'm doing like the finance stuff and the boring stuff and getting back into my stuff. So this is more of like an on the business kind of day, alongside probably an hour's worth of client support. But there are no calls in my diary today as recording, and there's like me stuff, i.e. my business, my numbers, my admin, my back end, that type of thing. And I think it's like really important to talk about the season that I'm in, because it's like a lot of the time when you come to me to work with me, you're like, you expect that things are the same all the time. We hear a lot about the word consistency, And, you know, you hear it from me, you hear it from any coach, you hear it from loads of people in the industry too. Like, consistency is king. And it is, but it's also consistency with seasons. And so I wanted to like go into that a little bit with you, because this is how it's been, right, for the last few months. So, you know, and how also what's really important to know and to take from this is how you can still move and still create momentum in the times where you are in a season of slowness or downtime, or like where it looks like there's less going on, or there's, you know, your output is less. And also this is for the mums as well. Like, if you're a mum running a business, a lot of my clients are, and, you know, even keeping on top of mental load, house load, children, half terms, and, you know, I know I have like global listeners and so many different countries listening to this podcast, but here in the UK, I have to take off around 15 weeks of the year for the kids' school holidays. And so they're called like half terms and school holidays, you know, so just so you know what I'm talking about. And let me tell you, so for me, let's just go back to January. We're in April. This year is actually flying by. Anyone agree with me? Let me know. In January, my output was massive. It was like the start of the year, a big launch. There were events. I was at events. I had a photo shoot booked in. I had my launch booked in. We had a big month, like one of the best months financially. Bear in mind as well, you know, coming in off the back of Christmas, it's always a struggle. And we've had, alongside that, a home renovation going on since last April. And so life's just been fucking crazy, to be fair. But like, January was massive. The output was huge. Like, it just felt like I was firing on all cylinders and everything was go, 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 which was really good. And at that point, like, felt good, blah, blah, blah. February comes around. It was a massive month for me, but in a different way. It was like, output was still huge, but it was more to do with planning ahead. It was recording trainings. It was recording podcasts. It was collaborations. There was a lot of that going on in February. But then boom, we hit a half term. So I know that I've got to take a week off in February. Then, to throw a spanner into the works, as a family, we do Ramadan, right? So we spend the whole month of Ramadan fasting, which means family commitment wise, long story short, I have to, you know, cook and serve and create a big meal every night, and we all get together around my in-laws, and this is every single day. Anyway, I won't bore you with that, but we did Ramadan, and then we also have a lot of birthdays in March and April. So I'm talking like 20 plus in my friends and family group, because my side of the family has a hell of a lot of birthdays in March and April, and also so does my other halves. So it's just insane for us. We actually have a birthday, like we have more than one on one day most of the time, and so we have a lot of birthdays. And obviously it's me that deals with all of that, right? It's not my other half. I deal with whose birthdays, you know, what we do and what we get in, what we, you know, making sure that we remember people's birthdays and stuff, because we like to do that. We also had, like, my daughter had a big concert that was like her first thing that she'd done with the school. It was like a big concert that I had to go to into London one evening. It was a really late night, and it just so happened that followed on to like being really close to Eid. So at the end of Ramadan, again, without boring you too much, we then have a celebration called Eid, and that's huge as well. So the commitment on me personally to prep that and to get everything sorted and cook, again, it's a big commitment. And so all of this has come at once, and now we're in April, and I'm like, how the hell are we here? I feel like since January, February, March and April have been like these kind of, this season of downtime almost, or should I call it like a baseline? And this is really what I want to talk about, because we've had all of that, and then boom, we had another half term. So as soon as the 30th of March came around, the kids were off school again for a good 2+ weeks, and they've only just gone back, as I mentioned at the beginning. And it's like, you know, as women building businesses, like, how are you meant to juggle all this? It is a lot. Like, I know I've only listed like those things off the top of my head there, but that is that's a lot, like, to go on in the space of 90 days. Like, we've had a hell of a lot. It's been one thing after the other, included my, like, husband's birthday, my daughter's birthday, all those other birthdays, my dad's, like, all the ones I was talking about. So much stuff going on in my brain personally, plus business-wise. Like I said, January was the biggest month so far this year, and it's just crazy. And so then when you go straight off the back of all of that into another half term where you're like, right, tools down again, because I'm off with my kids, and I make it very clear to my clients, like, they actually respect and love the fact that I take time off with the kids over the half terms. They are really understanding people, and that's because they strive to build a business that gives them that spaciousness and that freedom too, and that's what I teach them to do. And that's why I think this conversation is super important to have, because from the outside sometimes it looks like I'm doing so much, and I think people are like, well, how do you do all that? I've always been asked all of my life, how do you do everything? I've got 3 children, I run the business, do the podcast, I'm up on social media, I support my clients, 5 stars out of 5, like, how do you do it all? So I think it's just so important to strip it back, have these conversations, be real, raw, open, honest with you about not only like what it looks like, but how it makes you feel. Because, we've had, even in the Easter holidays that have just gone past, we had a lot of plans. Right, in the February half term, I was ill, so I didn't do anything really with the kids. It was a bit crap because I was just ill and out for the count. But in the last sort of 2-3 weeks, we've done a lot. So we've been to the zoo, we've been to the cinema, we've been, to different soft plays, we've been all around, just doing things all the time. We've been to the woods, we've been out on days out, we've been with family, we've been with friends, we've just done as much as we possibly can to keep the kids entertained and have fun and be outdoors and enjoy the weather. And obviously things have to give. Like, you can't just go fire on all cylinders every single month of the year when you're in my position. And actually, to be completely frank with you, it doesn't always feel good. Like, I want to make it very clear that some months have felt like it's not enough. And I would just want to make this clear, like, just because somebody might be in a position that you want to be in, whether it be like because you're growing your beauty business and that someone like me has done that before, and we've been where you want to be, and so you strive to get there. Just because someone's done the thing you want to do, or just because they're slightly ahead of you, or just because whatever, it looks on the outside like they do it all, it doesn't mean it feels good all the time. Like, it might look okay, it might look good, but it doesn't mean it does feel good to that person, because the thing is, with being a high-performing person, you have these massive expectations that you put on yourself. And so for me, like, the work that I've had to do to get to a place that actually feels okay with having these downtimes and these seasons of, like, slower times, or maybe their preparation times or whatever. Like February, like I said, it was a massive month of output, but it was more in preparation of things. And so the thing I've actually had to work on to be okay with that stuff is actually lowering my expectations. It's actually being like, it's the work that I've done internally to focus on what matters the most to me and what feels good to me. Now, that would be completely different for you. Like, sometimes, I mean, if you don't have kids as well, you're still going to have these downtimes. You're still going to need them, because you'll notice that you don't have kids, but you'll go through a time of, like, busyness inside the business where you do prepare for something large, like a big launch or something happening, and that output will feel huge. Like, the output that you have to put in for certain things does feel huge at times, and rightly so it should, because these things aren't easy. If these businesses were easy to build, everybody would be doing it and it would be no fun, and the success wouldn't feel great. But you don't even have to have kids to feel this way and to be in seasons. It's just a fact of life. Like, we have to be in seasons. And as women as well, right, we work on a monthly cycle. So we have to take that into consideration as well. So each month can be like a season. You know what I mean? Like, it can feel different all the time, because we're so up and down as women. And I actually just work with women, and I can tell you that it really affects some people more than others as well. And so if you're one of those people, let's, like, bring that into it. Like, imagine, even if you don't have kids, but think about the downtimes that you have in your cycle as well, because that's so relevant and so valid and so real. And so, yeah, what I want to say is, like, you don't know how somebody does feel when they look all right, like when they look like they've got all this shit together. And so what I want to say is that it's actually felt hard. Like, I'll be completely honest with you, for the first time in a while, I'm like leaning on my coaches, my mentors, like more than ever, because I'm like, okay, I've got this going on, but my expectation is through the fucking roof, right? I want more. I want to run. I've always been a runner. I want to run before I can walk. And the expectation is high because I'm a high performing person. I'm generally super productive. I'm generally, everything together. I'm on top of the house. I'm on top of the washing. I'm on top of everything with my 3 babies. They have the best of me, and so do my clients, and so do I. I'm really proud to say, actually, like, being boundaried and being like, my time is my time. The kids' time is their time. I'm good at that shit. I'm good at that now. It's taken a long time to get there. But for the first time in a while, I felt myself slipping the last few months. I felt myself being like more triggered by things. Like, if I see things online where I feel like people are doing more than me in this season, I felt triggered by things. I have felt like I'm not doing enough. I felt, of course, I let social media slip and things. In the grand scheme of things, like right now, today, with my level head on, I can tell you that doesn't bother me at all, really, because I'm like, it just is. I'm okay with it. Like, it is what it is. When I've got the output, I've got the output. And when I go back to baseline, I go back to baseline. And so, I think letting something go to do more of something else is a real big thing. Like, remembering that you have to, not only is it okay, but you have to have space for other things. If you are looking to do more, like, for example, all those things I've reeled off to you, all the things that we had going on, so many different plans, so many different things, right? And that was mainly personal. It was all mainly personal. If I went into what was going on in the business, I mean, I'd be here all day. But on top of all of that, actually, how can I forget? I've also been planning my sister's baby shower. Oh my God, it was the most beautiful day ever. It's just gone. This last Sunday just gone. We had it, and oh my God, it was stunning. And yes, I'm blowing my own trumpet. I did a really freaking great job, and it was beautiful, and she is stunning, and I cannot wait to meet my baby nephew. But all of that going on as well. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, was doing all that, and the kids were still not back at school. Then they finally go back at school. And then, I need my spa break. But it's like focusing on the fact that to do all of the things and to have space for those things, something has to give. And for me in this season, it was things like social media. Like, there's a baseline in everything in my business. There's a baseline for how I show up in my spaces and my clients, like with their support, with their calls, with everything. And then there's a baseline for things like social media and my marketing. And I know what I let go. And I think it's really important for you to note that. Like, you might want to pause the pod and be like, wow, I've got all of this personal stuff going on as well. And I've had this in the business or that in the business or whatever. And pause the pod and think about, like, what would you let go? What is the baseline? Or do you even have one? Maybe you've got a baseline. I don't know. I'm just here to be real and raw and honest with you today. So what do I actually do to keep moving? I can hear you ask, because, nothing has fallen off of a cliff. Nothing has, gone down in flames. We haven't burnt the whole thing down. Things have still been fine. The recurring revenue still comes in. Income is still fine. The babies are fine. Personal life is great. And it's controlling your emotions, actually, that's the hardest thing, which we can get into. But I think practically, it's important to have some tools in your toolkit to know what to do to be able to move through seasons in a way that feels okay, in a way that actually feels like you're still accomplishing what you want to do, or like the baseline is still being met. And it feels fucking great, I'm not going to lie, when you look at the year and you're like, I know what's going to happen. I've planned that, and this is where it begins. I get asked, well, how do you keep on top of like the everything, business wise? I'm like, the year is planned. It's not just that I look at things with a month in advance or a quarter in advance. At the beginning of every year, or at the end of every year, should I say, I get a new yearly planner that goes on the wall, like one of the ones that you can draw on, like a big one. You can see it in the back of my content sometimes, like a big wall planner. And I look at the months and I block out, as soon as I've got it, I block out every single school holiday. It's the first thing that comes first, because the babies are the key thing here. Like, they're my most important thing. If you don't have babies, maybe you block out your own freaking holidays. Do you know what I mean? Like, non-negotiable time off. Maybe that gets blocked out first and foremost. And then what I do is I look in advance at the months and the quarters for the business and what actually goes on in the business, because there are patterns, and I've been doing this for many years, and I know that in X month I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And you'll know that too in your business. Like, what does the output look like? And you know when you've got those months where your output is bigger. And so once I've looked at the year and the goals for the year and I've set those, I break things down into quarters and months. And then obviously week to week, I look at my weekly planner and my daily planner, and I get my tasks in, and it's all based around non-negotiables. Okay, this is what I teach, this is what I do with clients. Like, we have their weekly schedules, we go through, they've in the Limitless, we've got daily 5, we've got the Limitless growth cycle they need to go through. They know how to run their businesses based on systems and based on non-negotiables and based on time blocking and stuff like that. And this is the way that it sounds like it's it sounds a little bit, what's the word, like robotic, like it's so strategic, so planned out, but that's actually how you begin to create freedom in your life, and you begin to create the spaciousness in your life. You know, it's by being that way, it's by being forward planning, by anticipating what's going to happen. Because like I said, it's all about making that space. You know, once you know what's in, you can make space for other things. So that's the first thing that's really super important, is that I will plan for the year. And I know that, like this year, for example, in February, you may not have noticed because I'm cool and I know what I'm doing, and I kind of hide it really well. But what I do is, just for this year, for example, in February, I actually recorded all of my podcasts all the way up until April, because I knew what was going on. I knew that this season was coming. And looking back now and thinking about how it's felt, it still felt hard. It still felt like, oh, I'm not doing enough. But actually, if I look back at all the things that I pre-planned and that I sorted and that I've done in the business and that's kept things afloat, I'm like, fucking hats off to you, mate. You did really well. You smashed that because you planned it. Okay, so it's like all on the calendar. And doesn't mean it doesn't feel hard when you're in the thick of it, because I still did. And that's why I'm doing this episode, because I still felt a bit icky. I still felt like I'm not giving my best. I still felt like, oh, you know, I hate giving things. I hate it when I have to give away things to do more with other things, you know. And I love my babies, don't get me wrong. And that was the priority. But I still don't love it. And you won't either. But it's a case of looking back and giving yourself the pat on the back. And actually, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Anyway, so that's the first thing that I do. I look at the year, and then I look at the quarters and the months, right? So then the other thing that I do is make sure that not only is there baseline systems, there's also periods of, like, if I know even a baseline is going to slip, I'm all right with that. I'm actually all right with that. So, for example, your baseline for, I don't know, something like social media, right? It might be that you post 4 times a week, and that's the baseline, and it just, you know, you batch it every week or you batch it every month, and the baseline is there. Maybe even sometimes the baseline has to slip, and you might anticipate that for a certain busy time in the year. Again, I do that, and I think it's okay, and it's like you give yourself that grace, and what you do is you have to own it. You can't dwell in it and think that it's a bad thing. Like, you don't make it a bad thing. And this is massive key here. If you take anything from this, write down this. Like, it is not a bad thing. If we tell ourselves it's a bad thing, it feels bad. Okay? If we look at it with the vision of it's serving a purpose, actually, like we're using the hindsight to plan ahead, like we're actually having to create space for other things, and all of these things are positive, it changes the way it feels. It changes what you're going to attract, because it's important to remember that if you are in a state of feeling shitty and feeling bad about not doing certain things in a downtime period, or you're feeling crap about, you know, just like you have these high expectations and you're not quite meeting them, you're not going to attract anything in that time either that you want and that would feel good and that would fill your cup up and that would actually light you up. If you still want to be attracting happy thoughts, positive people, all of those things around you, and you still want things to be feeling good, you have to feel good and choose to feel good. So making it a bad thing is not going to help you. So what you have to do is you have to have that grace. You have to know that if there's a part of time where your baseline might even slip, and I think this is something I've learned maybe in the last 2 years, maybe not before that. I used to be very strict on my baseline before that, but I think having 3 kids and moving house and having renovations and stuff has tipped me over the edge, guys. But when I've learned that, it's really fucking helpful to be like, actually, there's that grace when that baseline slips, because who I am now isn't who I was 2-3 years ago. And it's such a good thing to note, right? Who you are now is such an inspiration to the person you were 2-3 years ago. Okay, remember that. Like, you would inspire the younger you, always. And just be proud of that and remember that and give yourself that grace if a baseline slips. That's the other thing. Do not dwell in it. Use hindsight to think to yourself, well, actually, do you know what? Let's look at hindsight on a bigger spectrum. I'm looking at hindsight now from today's April, mid-April, but I'm looking all the way back to Jan. And this is how I can have this conversation with you, because like I said, in the thick of it still didn't feel that great. But now that I'm here and I'm getting back into what I'm getting back into, I can use hindsight and look back and think, actually, in January we did this. Fucking great. I'm sweary today, guys. In February I did this. Oh my gosh, amazing, massive tick in the box. In March, and you look at that hindsight and you think about all the good things and you fill your own cup and you look at that, you look back and you actually think, that's how I got through it. That is how I got through these things. And so actually it's a wonderful lesson all the time, even if it felt hard. And you can look back and you can learn and you can go, that's how I got through it. Would I want to get through it any differently next season? Next time it's a horrible, or even not horrible, maybe it's just a really lovely downtime. Like, I had a bit of an up and down downtime this time with the seasonal thingy. It was like there were some lovely times with the kids and stuff, but then there was also some stress. Like, I was ill, we had the house renovations, that's been stressful, we had all this stuff going on, like Ramadan wasn't easy, although it's a lovely time, it wasn't easy, there's been up and downs. But anyway, the point is, looking back through it, like, you've got through it, well done, hats off to you, pat on the back, give yourself a little bit of an applause for that. But like, how did I get through it? And what was helpful and unhelpful? This is what I do with people all the time. The clients of mine will probably be laughing if you're listening to this, because you know where I'm at with this. Was it helpful or unhelpful? The things that you did to get through it, the things that you might have said to yourself, the internal dialogue that was going on, the thought process that you were holding, the actions you were taking, the habits that might have kept you just, treading water and above water. What were those habits? What were the ones that probably didn't help? Like, what was helpful and unhelpful? And then next time, great, what can we do differently? Like, it's such a wonderful thing having these down times, looking how you got through it and deciding to move differently next time. And I can honestly tell you, this is how I move. Like, this is how I do it. This is how I move. I look back, I learn my lessons, and I make it an obligation of mine to do what I say I'm going to do. If you're one of those people that listens to positivity, that listens to podcasts, that listens to trainings, that puts yourself into free spaces that are, or even paid spaces that are uplifting and motivating and whatever, but you don't do the thing, and you don't have anything in your calendar or your diary, or you don't have any time blocks or alarms or anything to make sure you do the thing, is pointless. Okay, and that's not a problem. I'm not saying you're a terrible person for not having, like, that set standard, but you've got to work on it. Like, you have to work on it. And knowing that you're that type of person that, like, wants to do the thing but doesn't do the thing, doesn't learn from it or whatever, if you know you're that type of person, that awareness is what you need to grow first. Like, what the heck is going on? How does it happen? Why does it happen? What are the triggers? What does the downtime look like? And what am I actually saying I'm going to do that I'm not? All of that awareness piece is huge. That's going to take you some time. That's what I do with people. And then it's a case of how you move through it. How you move through it and how you move forward and do things differently next time. Like, that is such a big piece. So that is actually what I do. And then, like, I've been doing this for years and years, and there's been years of this podcast, there's been years of growing businesses. I've been in business now 14 years, and everything leaves clues. Everything leaves clues. Like, a bad time, there are clues. A good time, everyone says success leaves clues. Yes, it does, but so do the bad times. Like, everything is there is evidence of what's going on everywhere. There are clues everywhere as to what could have been done differently. So it's like going back and looking at what they are is exactly how I move forward through all of these things. It's exactly how I do it. It's exactly how I've created a business that gives me spaciousness and freedom. Like I said in the middle of this episode, it doesn't always feel great. And that's the internal work that you have to do, okay, to keep yourself feeling okay and good, because focusing on good feelings is going to bring about good things. But also to finish up, like I think the main thing that you can do when you're having like a seasonal change or season of, hard time or personal, maybe things are just huge. Maybe there's a wedding going on in the family. Maybe like you've got personal stuff going on. God, it could be absolutely anything. It's really a case of what are your expectations of yourself? Because as somebody that wants to achieve great things and a high performing person, you are going to have massively huge expectations of yourself. And it might just be a case of rejigging those. I've been leaning on my mentors so much more than ever in this time, because as much as I can do all the things I've mentioned, like planning my year and being really, really prepped, like having 12 weeks of podcast episodes recorded, having that baseline, letting it slip and being okay, like all these things I mentioned, I still need to lean on my mentor. I still need to be like, okay, help a girl out. Like, let's just talk through my own shit. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, this is just a real raw one for you today, guys. I hope it helps. And I'll leave it there. Sending you all the love.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights that will help you in your beauty business and life. If you did, please take a screenshot and tag me in your stories. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me on any of my socials. The links are always in the descriptions. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you more and more great content. Until next time, keep building that business.